So, a number of news outlets a few days ago reported that Kathleen Kennedy was retiring from Lucasfilm in at the end of 2025. A lot of people reported that. That was like a thing that went around. Legitimate news sites were talking about it. Well, apparently they jumped the gun, or there's some kind of discrepancy here, because apparently she might not be. So it says here from Discussing Film, and I know some people are going to be pissed about this. Kathleen Kennedy says she's not retiring, but has been looking for an eventual succession plan for a new leader of Lucasfilm. We'll probably make an announcement months or a year out. I have every intention of sticking around to help that person be successful. Now, this does not mean that she's not retiring. What it means is that she's not just going to leave in 2025. We should clarify this so everybody understands. What's going on here, and this I understand based on my understanding of how these businesses work from my research and running businesses, is that she's not just going to disappear. What's going to happen is they're trying to find somebody to become the head of Lucasfilm. Some of the rumored people are Kevin Feige and Dave Filoni. Now, I want to comment on that here briefly before we get back to Kathy Kennedy. I think Dave Filoni is the guy when it comes to Star Wars lore, knowledge, and connection to George Lucas. I think he's got it. I don't like everything he does, though. I don't. Like, there are things about him that I don't like. However, I think comparing him to Kennedy, I think he's much better. And then you've got Kevin Feige. Now, as much as Kevin Feige did a great job with the MCU for all these years, Kevin Feige's got his own problems right now because the MCU has problems. Kevin Feige has to turn the ship around for the MCU, and they're doing it little by little. I don't think Kevin Feige having more work diluted to run another like massive cinematic universe is a good idea. I just don't think it's a good idea. You don't want to take a guy like him and stretch him too thin, because what ends up happening is Star Wars and Marvel will suffer. And he's got to focus everything on fixing Marvel and having somebody take over his spot there before he jumps over here. So what's going on here is whomever Kennedy and Lucasfilm decide is going to take over after her, she's not just going to leave. It's going to be sort of a transfer of power. She will stay and train the person as her understudy and then leave. Now, I know some people are concerned about this because I've seen people say that, well, if she trains an understudy, it'll be just like her. In other words, people think that she's going to bring somebody in who doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't understand Star Wars, and some fear that the person will have the same political ideology that she does, and that's hurt Star Wars in a lot of fans' eyes. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, they don't want somebody to come in and just do the same thing she's doing. We as Star Wars fans, no matter what side of politics you're on, I think we can all agree we just want good stories, right? So the person that takes over the job has to be a good producer and has to recognize talent and be a good storyteller. Look, I'm not trying to garner sympathy for Kathy Kennedy, because a lot of folks hate her and she's not done a good job on Star Wars. But her job is also not that easy because there are a lot of moving parts to it. And somebody who comes in has to be good at management. And her thing is that when it comes to producing movies, she's fine. She's produced some of the best movies ever. She's worked with some great directors and great writers. But when it comes to Star Wars, she's just not knowledgeable enough on the product, nor is she, in my opinion, truly have an understanding of what made Star Wars work. You understand what I'm saying? And I think people are worried about that. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that based on my knowledge of business, whoever should be the successor, whoever's going to follow in Kennedy's footsteps and take over Star Wars, Kennedy will be training them when it comes to the administrative tasks, when it comes to how to do their job. I don't think that Kennedy is going to tell them, for example, let's use the South Park joke. I don't think Kennedy will tell the next in line, make sure all the movies have a woman in it and make her gay. Like the joke in South Park. I don't think that's what she's going to do. I think it's more so she'll teach the successor, okay, this is how we file reports. This is how we communicate, like sort of management duties. Because when you're doing a job like this, it's very hard, even if you're an executive vice president or even like an executive producer, it's very hard to jump into a job like Kennedy's without having some kind of training to really understand your duties. The reason why these people get paid so well is because there's a lot to it. And so that is what they're talking about. Hopefully that makes sense to you, that that's kind of what's really going on. I don't think it has anything to do with the person's opinion on Star Wars. I just hope that whomever takes over can handle Kennedy's duties when it comes to administration, when it comes to finding talent and working with directors, which she has not been good at in the Star Wars era. Look at all the directors that she had signed on to projects that wound up never doing them. Do we have to go through them all? We don't have time. Well, we have time, but you know who they are, bro. So I hope that whoever takes over has a genuine respect for what George Lucas built and wants to continue the canon properly instead of the what Kennedy was doing, like, but also can do Kathleen Kennedy's job. So she might not be leaving right in December of 2025. It depends on when they find this person, but when they do find this person, she'll probably stick around for a few months, make sure they're comfortable before she steps down. Ultimately, this woman is, she's got a lot of money based on her projects. She's going to be all right. Like, I know a lot of folks hate her, but she's going to go into retirement wealthier than the vast majority of us. Let's keep it real. And, I mean, she has not done a good job in Star Wars, but if she took care of her money, man, which she probably did, she'll be good to go and live comfortably. And honestly, I think most Star Wars fans would be okay with that as long as she stays away from Star Wars. You understand what I'm saying? I think most logical fans, not the nut jobs, not the crazies, most normal people understand she hurt Star Wars, but I don't think they have like a hatred for her as a person. I think she's just bad at Star Wars. I would hope that people have that nuance and they're not just freaks, because the internet breeds weirdos like that. But most people, I think, just want her to go away. You know what I mean? You don't have to get sick or anything. Or, no, just go away. Just stop. Stay away from Star Wars. Stop making any decisions on Star Wars. Let somebody else come in and do the job. That's the video. Hopefully that makes sense to you. We'll talk soon.